I was a little surprised to see this, to be honest with the two of you. I know you don't know where I'm going yet, but ESPN's got Georgia at Texas as the number one game heading into the college for like meaning for the college football playoff national championship. They put it over Georgia Alabama. Ryan, comments?
I'm with it. I'm with it. I said this in one of my videos a couple weeks
Oh, look
ago.
at you lining up with Heather
Yeah, yeah.
Dinich.
I beat ESPN to it. Look, I think Texas is going to be better than Alabama this year. I just do. I don't think that's a crazy take after everything that's happened over the last couple of weeks. And because of that, look, Texas is in the league now. They just made the college football playoff. They were close to making a national championship. It's fine. We can say they're back because they're back to being a contender at the very least. And look, they beat Alabama last year too. So yeah, I do.
You're
I think
trying to
it's a better
trigger them
game.
though with the "we're back" stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, well, like, I'm being hesitant. I'm being hesitant on the word
Don't
back
put
because what does
horns down
back
because
mean?
that's really going to cause a
I didn't.
problem. Do
I
not
didn't.
do that because like they really
Don't
get
do that.
sensitive. If you do that, they're really sensitive about it.
Yeah, you can't do that at certain sports venues. You can't do
Yeah,
that at certain games or something, right? You
No,
got to
Matt.
fine. That's just being
I
soft.
I
That's being
guess you can
soft.
do it on YouTube. Ryan just did it. That's going to trigger a whole lot of people. That's going to be the
He just
biggest
doubled
game.
it.
Well, I mean, I don't
I,
have three hands.
I game against Alabama might be the most important, just because you can't go to Tuscaloosa and lose to a first-year head coach after this. This is where the tide should be turning. I didn't even mean to say that. I
Oh
guess
boy.
that's a little joke. I really did, but there's no excuse for Georgia, I think, to go over there and lose that game. They if they go to Austin, Texas, and lose, that's not a bad loss at all. I think Texas is probably the number 3 team in the country. I still think Alabama is probably fallen several steps, but they're still probably a top 10 team. But I don't know. Half the roster is gone. So I don't really know what to expect of Alabama. What I do know is that the roster isn't Georgia's, and Georgia can't go to Tuscaloosa and lose that game. That would be a bad loss, I think, just in the grand scheme of things. So the Texas game will probably be the best game, 2 of the 3 best teams in the country going at it. But I think it'd be a lot worse if they go to Tuscaloosa and lose that one.
Eco Poly Porch Rocker. I'm showing you the Georgia version. You could, in theory, get Texas. Let me work hard on that real quick as we talk. Or just go straight burn orange everywhere. Teak is what it's called. Listen, Eco Poly 20-year warranty, completely recycled plastics. Make sure you're checking our buddies out down there. It really they help us a lot, but help your backyard, man. I mean, you got a beach house, you got a lake house, you got a cabin, you got a brand new place in way extreme North Atlanta. Eco Poly is the place for you to get your backyard living right. We're gonna have some new products up soon, but the link to Eco Poly is right down below. Make sure you tell them that Dog Post sent you. Uh, it would not be a bad loss, Matt. I mean, I know everybody's correct in talking like that. We've become basketball, and I don't think that's all that bad. Unless you're the Texas coach and you're completely fully triggered by the other team putting horns down. Why is that bad? What? This is gonna be a very. This is
Welcome
gonna
to
be.
the SEC.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a
Welcome
learning
to the
experience.
SEC.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a learning experience for Texas to come into this thing. But I think. I mean, I don't know that line is not out. I would imagine Georgia will be favored maybe by a point. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be the underdog. It might be that they're a 2-point favorite or a 1 point. That could be a 2-point dog, but it's not going to be like they're going to be a 7-point dog going over there, Ryan. I think it's a huge game. I think that I don't know who needs it more. Georgia beat South Carolina the other day in basketball on the road. They should have beaten them. They're better than them, and then all of a sudden, they all lost to Kentucky. Okay, Ryan. You come back a few days later, and South Carolina storming the court against the Cats. Well, one of those, the Kentucky loss for Georgia is irrelevant. They were on the road, quad one game, top 10 team. They lost by 10, not a big deal. But they beat South Carolina in a quad one game on the road. South Carolina lost at home to Georgia. So where you lose, how you lose, who you lose, it's going to matter more than just, they lost to Alabama by 3 in Atlanta. It's going to be every loss is going to be terminal, and every win isn't going to be, they've made their season. It's going to be different.
Yeah, we just saw that exact scenario play out, right? With the committee, Georgia, Texas, Alabama all beating each other. We just saw how that can affect things. And it just affected with the 14 playoff. It'll affect it with the 12-team playoff as well, because it'll get down to seeding and things like that, whether or not you're playing that first game at home or not, right? Things
Yeah.
like that are going to matter, right? You'd rather be the 5 seed than the 10, because that means you got to go on the road and play at someone else's stadium in the playoff. Something I'm very excited to see how that all goes. I think those are going to be very electric environments.
Do either of y'all think, Matt or Ryan first, do either of y'all think that, let's just project right now, do either of y'all think that Texas or Georgia will be on the road in the college football playoff?
Not this year.
No.
I don't.
I think one's going to be having a bye, and I think the other's hosting. That's the way I'd put it.
What the detriment of Alabama, Matt? Do you think that essentially has pushed Texas and Georgia to the 1-2 in the league?
I think so. Yeah, I just think Alabama lost too much, and you've got a head coach coming down to the South. He's got to figure out that culture real quick, and he got a big commitment today. Ryan Williams, I believe I saw that correctly, chose Alabama. That's a start. That's the first domino, the guy that he needed to get to stay in the state, because he's a big-time player, but he's going to need to do more of that. But I think year one, it is going to be a little tougher than I think Alabama folks realize, because that's a lot of talent that he's got to replace quickly. And I do think he's a good coach. I do think he's a good coach. Maybe he wins a national championship or two. That's probably his peak. He's not winning 6, and he's not winning 1 or 2, I think, in the first several years. But are they a top 10 team? Yeah, probably. And I think he'll keep them in contention. I don't think they're going to be hunting for national championships every single year like they were under Nick Saban. But as far as what was out there, I don't think it was a bad hire. But they're not Georgia or Texas right now.
Yeah, and a quick thing too, going back a little bit more to Georgia and Texas, and how big of a loss would that be for Georgia? I think Georgia's got a harder schedule than Texas this coming year, so I think if you're Georgia, you might need to win that a little bit more. Maybe you don't. There's probably 2 ways of thought that you can have with that, because I guess it would be easier to see Georgia rattle off a couple losses if you just look at the schedule for what they are next year. I don't think Texas got the worst deal in their first year in this thing, and we're going to look at it every year and analyze it differently. Oh, that team got it really bad this year. They've got this stretch, but I don't think Texas is unbearable, especially not compared to what Georgia has to deal with. So I think you could argue it'd be harder for Georgia to get there.
To Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta, the playoffs and on. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
But
yeah.
More specifically, Atlanta.
Yeah, when you look at Texas's schedule, they got to go to Michigan. I mean, I got to say, I think they probably should win that game. But, yeah, I mean, outside of sort of the big dogs, they don't have a challenging SEC schedule. They got Georgia and OU in back-to-back games, so that's not great. But they got Mississippi State, Vandy, the Gators, Arkansas, Kentucky, and A&M. The close is not ideal. You're at Arkansas, you host the Cass, and you play A&M. They certainly could lose one of those games. Well, they lose. I think the other thing, I'm just going to stop myself. We don't know what it's going to be like, Matt, for Texas to be in this league. And, we saw Georgia play, and it was a rivalry game, but they played the Gators, Missouri, Ole Miss. Wasn't that the back-to-back-to-back? I mean, emotional, physically very difficult against Missouri, and then a top 10 Mississippi team comes in. That's what the SEC is like. It's not like that every single week, but it's like that for like sections of your season. And that OU Georgia back-to-back, that's going to be brutal.
Yeah. Again, it's every week they're going to have to bring their A game. They don't get an Iowa State and a Texas Tech and a Baylor and whoever, right? Even that Arkansas game, they better come to play against Kentucky. If you play in Lexington, that's not as easy as I think those people probably think it's going to be. Every week you're going to have to bring it, and you're going to have to stay as healthy as possible, because if you don't bring it, we've seen in this league, you can lose. So I do think that this first year – wouldn't surprise me if they dropped a couple, just because, first, and same for Oklahoma. It's this whole new ball game, whole different level, and they're going to see that. They're both talented teams. I think Texas is better than Oklahoma, but it could be a situation where a couple weeks they just don't bring it all, especially on the road, and they fall. So it wouldn't surprise me, but I think Texas up and down should win most of their games, almost all of them.
Yeah, Matt. I'm sorry, Ryan. OU very quickly. OU plays Houston, Tulane. I mean, let's care about this. Tennessee, Auburn back to back. Week off. Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Maine. I don't know what that's about. Missouri off. Back to back. Alabama, LSU. They're not surviving that schedule.
No, we don't know what these two teams are in the league yet. That's the only thing. So we're still kind of speaking in theory a little bit when we do discuss Texas, because can they handle the week-to-week grinds, right? Mississippi State, who's not a great team in the SEC, is better than most of the teams in the Big 12, right? Tennessee, who's has been the fifth-ish best program in the SEC the last couple of years, right, would be the second or third in the Big 12 the last couple of years. So that's what you're dealing with on a week-to-week basis. Like you said, going up to Lexington's not going to be fun. Going to Arkansas, there are also environments that are just harsher. I mean, so it's going to be tough on a week-to-week. We don't actually know what they're going to be in the league yet.
No, we don't. And I think that's the most curious part, and that'll be the most fun. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.